Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Everybody knows me. I'm Endora, Doc McAndrews. And, yay. It's good to see everybody's faces again. As you see, I have a different tag on tonight. It's a different tag on tonight. It's SLCG Recruit. It's called Second Life Coast Guard. So we're going to mix it up a little bit tonight. And we're going to do up some really, some military jokes for you. This is, I've become part of the Second Life Coast Guard. And this reminded me of a story I heard once. I'm also career military. And I heard this way back in the day. And this is a true story. This was a radio transcript of an actual military conversation. And this was a transcript of a radio conversation between a U.S. naval ship with the Canadian authorities off the coast of Newfoundland in October of 1999. And this radio conversation released is the Chief of Naval Operations. And the Americans said, please divert course 15 degrees. Americans, please divert your course 15 degrees north to avoid collision. And the Canadian come back and says, recommend you divert your course 15 degrees south to avoid collision. And the Americans goes, this is the captain of the U.S. Navy ship. I say again, divert your course. And the Canadian came back and says, no, say again, you divert your course. And the American came back and says, this is the aircraft carrier USS Lincoln, the second largest ship in the United States, the Atlantic Fleet. We are accompanied by 3 destroyers, 3 cruisers, numerous support vessels. I demand that you change your course 15 degrees north, 15 degrees north. Our countermeasures will be undertaken to ensure the safety of the ship. The Canadians came back with a big sigh. This is a lighthouse. Your call.
Blow up the lighthouse. That'll learn a bastard. Yeah.
So anyways, Chief of Staff of the Air Force decides that he would personally intervene in recruiting crisis that the military had. And it was affecting all the armed services. So he directed a nearby Air Force base that he will be opened and that all eligible young men and women would be invited. So, as he and his staff were standing near a brand new F-15 fighter, a pair of twin brothers who looked like they had just stepped off Marine Corps recruiting poster walked up to them. The Chief of Staff walked up to them, stuck out his hand, and introduced himself. He looked at the first young man and said, son, what skills can you bring to the Air Force? And the young man looks at him and says, I'm a pilot. And the general got all excited, turns to his aide and said, get him in today. All that paperwork done, everything, just do it. Well, the aide hustles the young man off. The general looks at the second young man and asks, son, what skills can you bring to the Air Force? And the young man says, I chop wood. Son, the general replies, we don't need wood choppers in the Air Force, but what do you know how to do? I chop wood. Young man huffs the general, look, you're not listening to me. We don't need wood choppers. This is the 20th century. Well, the young man says, you hired my brother. Well, of course he did, says the general. He's a pilot. The young man rolled his eyes and says, so what? So what? I have to chop it before he can pile it. Yeah, just right. So, these stories come up, and it's just like, whatever. So the sergeant calls for his troops. The captain calls the sergeant in. Sergeant, I just got a telegram from Private Jones. His mother passed away yesterday. So you better go tell him and send him in to see me. So Sergeant Jones calls. So the sergeant calls for his morning formation to call lines of troops up. Listen up, men, says Sergeant. Johnson, report to the mess hall for KP. Smith, report to personnel, signs and papers. And the rest of you men report to the motor pool for maintenance. And oh, by the way, Jones, your mother died. Report to the commander. Yeah. Later that day, the captain called the sergeant into his office. Hey, Sarge, what was the pretty cold way to inform Jones his mother died? Could you be a little bit more tactful next time? Yes, sir, answered Jones. Or answered the Sarge. A few months later, the captain called Sergeant again with Sarge. I just got a telegram from Private McGrath's mother died. You better go tell him, send him in to see me. This time be more tactful. So Sergeant calls for his morning formation. Okay, men, fall in, listen up. Everybody with a mother, take 2 steps forwards. 2 steps forward, not so fast, McGrath. So, did you hear about the soldier who went to the enemy bar? He got bombed.
He got what?
He got bombed.
He got bombed.
Oh, okay. All right.
He went to the enemy bar, yeah.
Uh-huh.
An army major visits the sick soldiers, goes up to one private and asks, "What's your problem, soldier?" "Chronic syphilis, sir." "What treatment are you getting?" 5 minutes with a wire brush each day. "What's your ambition?" "To get back to the front, sir." "Good man," says the major. Sound like Marines to me. He goes to the next bed. "What's your problem, soldier?" "Chronic piles, sir." What treatment you getting?" 5 minutes with a wire brush each day. "What's your ambition?" "To get back to the front, sir." "Good man," says the major. He goes to the next bed. "What's your problem, soldier?" "Chronic gum disease, sir." "What treatment are you getting?" 5 minutes with a wire brush each day. "And what is your ambition?" "To get the wire brush before the other 2, sir."
Ooh.
An Israeli soldier who just enlisted asked the commanding officer for a 3-day pass. The CO says, "Are you crazy? You just joined the Israeli army and you already want a 3-day pass. You must do something spectacular for that recognition." Now, I apologize ahead of time. I didn't write this joke, so I don't know why they used Israeli, but so the soldier comes back a day later in an Arab tank. The CO was so impressed, he said, "Well, how'd you do it?" "Well, I jumped in the tank, went towards the border with the Arabs. I approached the border and saw an Arab tank. I put up my white flag. The Arab tank put up his white flag, and I said to the Arab soldier, 'Do you want to get a 3-day pass?' So we exchanged tanks."